number 6. This one, I tell you, man, this one really helped me improve my tournament results. Visualization, and it sounds a little hokey and kind of corny and that kind of stuff, but one of the things I used to do the day before a big match is I would, even if I did everything else that we talked about, which would be some light rhythm hitting, I wouldn't overtrain, strength training, cardio, blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. But one of the things I could do is I could sit there and run these scenarios through my mind of bad things happening. And if I was playing someone who I'd beaten a few times before, I'd say, oh my God, what's worst case here? If I lose to this guy, all these kinds of things. And sure enough, it was easy for me to go out there the next day and sort of make those bad thoughts become reality. And once and for me, that was actually a pretty easy day before kind of thinking pattern, where I really wouldn't think too much about positive stuff. I'd really kind of be running through all these really bad situations. And I'm not saying it happened every time, but it happened often enough to where I finally said, you know what, you have got to start thinking of only positive situations. And so I just really started thinking, especially like during the rhythm hitting, as I would not only be feeling myself stretching out as I was hitting, but also trying to visualize not so much that I'm going to win the match, but much more, what was I doing between points? And for me, it's if I can visualize playing a great point, and if you play someone who's at your skill level or who's even better, obviously we're not going to win every point. So for me, it was a good thing to visualize what my response was to playing a tough point and losing that point, and seeing what my response would be between points, and sort of visualizing myself as being very calm, very cool, very collected, not making excuses, not drawing any attention to myself, not doing anything that would kind of pump up my opponent. On the other hand, I also wanted to visualize the opposite result, where you play a tough point, you come in, and whatever happens, you play a great shot to win the point. And I really wanted to visualize what's my response to that going to be. And for me, it was I want to sort of have the same kind of feeling. And so talk a little bit about this concept of visualization, and Ian, kind of what your feeling is as to how it can help or hinder the day before a big match.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is a really, really important topic. There's so many different areas of mental tennis and mental toughness that make a huge difference in our ability to perform well on the courts. And I think this is all about being kind of realistic, having a realistic kind of self-image and realistic expectations heading into a match. And as a teacher, I've definitely seen both extremes, and my personality is actually to tend to be on one of those extremes. What I mean by extremes is, on one end of the spectrum, you have kind of your Eeyore, type character, somebody who's never confident in their own abilities, kind of like what you were describing early on, Brent, kind of constantly visualizing and reinforcing all the negative things that could possibly happen and all the negative outcomes that could possibly happen in a match. Listen, I mean, when you watch interviews with professional athletes, regardless of the sport, it doesn't matter. They're always confident. They're always putting positive, thoughts into their heads. And you just, what? And it doesn't even matter if it's a sport or not. I mean, this, like with so many other things in tennis, this is just kind of a life lesson. I mean, really, you just have to be feeding yourself positive things, not that they're unrealistic, and that's kind of the other side of the coin. And this is kind of where I personally tend to lie, is I'm very much a perfectionist by nature, both on the tennis court and off. And so, I would walk into tennis matches very, very confident to a fault, to where if I lost, a point, or a certain point, maybe that I should have won, in my own mind, oh, I should have won that, or maybe against a certain opponent that I knew or I thought I should always beat. Maybe it got down a break in the first set. It got to be where if anything bad happened or anything that didn't go according to what the pretty picture in my head was, I would get mentally just really bent out of shape. And before I knew it, I was just emotionally really down on myself, and it would just kind of spiral out of control. I mean, almost nobody plays well when they're angry. And so I'd hit another bad shot, and I'd be, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I'm not playing nearly as well as I should be, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's so important to be realistic. Yes, you should be, positive, you should be confident. And yet, like what you were describing, it's important to realize that, it's when you're evenly matched, you're going to lose half the time. When you play 100 times against somebody who's close and you're close to your level, that's just how sports works. There's going to be a loser, and sometimes it's going to be you. And it's important to be realistic about that while still maintaining good, positive confidence. And I think that can be really tough for people to balance out sometimes.
Those are good thoughts, Ian. You've got 4 stretches for us that you think really can help us the day before a match. Yeah. And let's just quickly go through these 4 stretches. And just, the first one here is the bird dog, which is going to help stretch out the shoulders, the core, and the glutes. Give us a little feedback as to why you like this stretch the day before that big match.
Yeah. Well, all 4 of the stretches that we're going to be taking a look at, I picked out purposefully because they combine different parts of the body and different muscle groups that are really, really important to tennis specifically. And I think they're stretches that probably most people aren't super familiar with, or maybe if they've seen them before, they're probably not doing them now because they're not, the super common, like, sit down and put one leg out and try to touch your toes, kind of thing. So, bird dog here, a couple of keys that I have listed up there. You want to make sure that everything is straight and aligned. Shoulders, your hips, and your knees, and your ankles of the 2 sides that you're extending. You want to make sure everything is nice and straight. It doesn't really look like it just looking at the picture, but this actually has a great element of core stabilization here because you're on one hand and one knee and on opposite sides. So you really kind of have to brace yourself to keep your body straight. And you should be extending whichever arm you have out. You should be extending out and reaching, kind of pretending like you're reaching out to grab something, a foot out in front of your hand, so that you get a nice stretch in your shoulder on the arm that's extending out. And then the same kind of concept on the opposite leg. You want to kind of pull your leg out behind you, and that gets you a nice stretch in the glutes and also a little bit of hamstring stretch back there as well. So it's a great again, core, glute, shoulder, all really important parts of the body for tennis.
Next stretch is you call the Spider-Man lunge. Good for your hips and your glutes. Describe what you do here, Ian.
Yep. Well, you want to take a really full, long stride here into this. I guess if you're not used to a lunge type motion, then be careful with that. Don't overdo it. Start off in a nice, comfortable stride. But here in the picture that I took here, this is a very full stride for me. Eventually, you want to try to get as far out between your 2 feet as possible, while still keeping that front knee behind your toes. That's a really important safety thing. Anytime you're doing any kind of lunges, you want to make sure that your knee stays over your ankle and doesn't extend out over past your toes. So as long as you can maintain that nice, safe position with your knee, you want to get a nice, long stride and then drop yourself down, and that gets a really nice hip stretch. This is, out of the 4, this is probably my favorite in terms of, I guess, the feel. The hips can be an area that are kind of tough to stretch out, and I think this is a really nice stretch to get them nice and loosened up.
Okay, stretch number 3, the warrior lunge. Good for the shoulders, the back, the quads, and the hammies.
Yeah, another really good kind of all-encompassing stretch here. Another lunge kind of based stretch, but also including some good upper body activation and stretching here to get you loosened up the day before. And you could use this right before a match as well, along with some dynamic stretching as well. But yeah, same kind of deal with the front knee. Make sure that it stays over your ankle. And then you want to just kind of clasp your hands together and get a full reach up as high as you can. And that gives both shoulders a nice stretch. And back as well. You probably wouldn't think, you see Steve here next to me pointing to my kind of mid to lower back. When you get that nice reach up with your arms and shoulders, it also stretches out that lower back, which is an important part to get limbered up as well.
And the final stretch, the lateral lunge, shoulders, back, groin, and knees. What's going on with this one?
Sure. On this one, you want to get as wide of a stride as you can out to the side. So what you didn't see here is kind of my starting position, facing forwards in an athletic stance, kind of like a ready position, or maybe after you've split steps on the tennis courts, and then take one side or the other. Here I have my left leg, and I took a wide stride out to my left, and then you take your opposite arm. Here you see my right arm reaching as far as I can past my left foot, across my body, and out to the side. So this is another great stretch to get a whole bunch of different parts of your body at once. For me, for my body, my legs and my knees tend to be a little tight, and so where I really feel this the most is in the picture here, my right knee. Again, one of those things where it doesn't really look like that's probably what's being stretched, but it really is. Kind of the side of the knee there really gets a good stretch on my right side, and then you get the benefit of the right shoulder being stretched as you reach out to the left, and then you also get on the left side the left hamstring and groin as you make that stride out to the left. Another great stretch.
Okay, Ian, these are terrific stretches. I really appreciate you helping us out with these. Guys, what I want to do now is open it up for questions. Do you have any specific questions for Ian or for me that you'd like to ask? And if you've been on a webcast before, you know there's two ways of doing that. You can click the hand icon, and you can ask in your own voice, assuming we've got your microphone set up right or your telephone set up right where we can hear you. Or you can go ahead and type into the chat box if you've got a question for Ian. I'm going to give you guys a minute to either type in your questions or to raise your hand. In the meantime, Ian, I know you've got a brand new training program, tennis-specific fitness and training program that you've just released a couple days ago. Let's take 1 minute and tell me what's in that program.
All right, in 60 seconds. All right, so
That's right.
Steve and I basically we tried to put together as comprehensive of a fitness and training program as possible, specifically for tennis players and the physical demands that they have on the courts. As we go through this, it's very educational. You're going to learn a lot about how to train your body properly, not just for tennis specifically, but just in general. And really the big benefits for this are in doing this are twofold. Number one is performance. In going through a training program like this, you can really increase the level of tennis that you can play on the courts by making yourself stronger. You can be able to transfer power into your shots much more effectively, create more racket head speed, and in creating that strength and also in doing tennis-specific footwork drills and quickness drills, you can really increase your ability to move around the court much more quickly, get to more shots. And then we work on flexibility a lot as well. And that not only helps your performance and being able to have a better range of motion in general and being able to move around the court more athletically, but probably one of the most important parts of this program is flexibility, and the rest of it helps really keep you from injury. And that's incredibly important for all of us. It doesn't matter if you're young or old. You can really decrease the likelihood of injury to your body as you play tennis. I mean, it's a sport that all of us love to do, and there's nothing worse than getting physically hurt and not being able to play it for whatever period of time, or even indefinitely sometimes. So, I mean, the benefits in going through a program like this are huge. Performance and injury, I think, are the two biggest ones. And that's over more than 60 seconds, so I'll stop there.
No, that's good. That's good. That's a great description. Well, when we're done, I'm going to encourage everyone to go over to the webtennis.com/players, and I've got a post there that's titled Ian's Complete Tennis Fitness, and there's a link there where you can go check out Ian's new fitness program. You know, the three things that you're talking about, which is strength, speed, and flexibility. All three of those things, to me, for tennis specifically, really can enhance a player's ability to visually track a moving tennis ball, as the player's also on the move. And you know, once you can do that to where you have really good visual contact with the tennis ball, you know, your spatial relationship to the path of the incoming ball gets better. You know, you quote unquote watch the ball, see the ball better. And really what that means is that now you get into the good hitting position sooner. You can adjust if you need to at the last second. But the swing shapes then become really simple. And once you can make your swing shapes simple in tennis, your consistency really goes up and your confidence just really goes off the charts. And I don't think that you can do that unless you have an off-court training program that's going to help you with strength combined with speed and combined with flexibility. So, Ian, I'm really pleased that you put this program together. I know that it can really benefit players in what I just talked about.